Hi and welcome back to another lesson. This is the first of what I hope will be a long installment of videos that try to teach jazz, piano, and harmony and soloing in an organized manner. So I've been posting videos to YouTube for quite a while, and they've always consisted of little ideas and fragments that I think most viewers find very satisfying and welcome it. However, I've also noticed there's a lack of resources for people who actually want to study jazz, piano, harmony in an organized manner. And I hope these videos, which I probably will try to release once a month, will sort of fill in this gap. Now, this course is not targeting people who are beginning. So if you're a beginner, this is probably going to be a little bit over your head. You need to be at sort of the intermediate stage. I'm going to assume that you know what a scale is and what a triad is and what an inversion of a triad is, and that you've encountered seventh chords, you know what a major seventh is and a dominant seventh and so forth. One place to sort of brush up on your knowledge on this is to watch my Piano Quickie series. So I'm going to put a link in the description. With that being said, let's jump right into it. So we're going to study or start out by studying harmony. And the first switch you have to do when studying jazz, piano, harmony, and harmony in general is, or the first step is thinking in terms of what's known as functional or diatonic harmony. And the idea is the following. Just let's play a major scale, let's say a C major scale. And the scale has degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you know, when you were a kid, you used to do this. You can build chords on these scale degrees. Just start out from the C major chord built on the first degree, and then start just moving it up the scale. And what you get is a C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C major. Now, these different, or the chords built on the different degrees have names. The most important ones are the chords built on the first degree, which is called the tonic, and then the chord built on the fourth degree, in this case F major, which is called the subdominant, and on the fifth degree, a G major, which is called a dominant chord. The other chords have names as well. The one or the minor chord built on the second degree is called the supertonic. The minor chord built on the third degree, and E minor in this case, is called the mediant. Then the diminished chord built on the seventh degree is called the submediant. But we'll get to it down the road. We're going to start out with these three important chords: the tonic, subdominant, and dominant. And I'm refraining from referring to these chords by names because everything I teach you is transferable to other scales. So if I go to say an E flat major, so this scale has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees, and the 8 is back to the 1. I can talk about the tonic in this case, which is the E flat major, the subdominant, which is the A flat major, and the dominant, which is the B flat major, and back to the tonic. And diatonic harmony, or functional harmony, deals with the relation of each degree to the tonic. So how does it function? What does it kind of, or where does it want to go in terms of harmonic progressions? Now, the tonic itself acts as the home base. This is what all of your harmonic progressions want to get to. This is sort of the resolution, the final resolution of any chord progression. You always gravitate towards the tonic of the scale. By the way, just an aside, we're going to deal with minor scales as well, but that will come a bit down the road. The second most important chord is the dominant. And the function of the dominant, or the sort of tendency of the dominant, is to resolve to the tonic. So, and you can almost hear it instinctively. So, in the key of C, C major, the dominant, which is a G, resolves very naturally to a C, the tonic. The function or most common usage of the subdominant, an F in the case of the scale of C major, is to resolve to the dominant. That kind of implicit in the name, a subdominant goes to the dominant. So a subdominant, dominant, tonic. It doesn't always have to be this way. Of course, you can think of progressions where you have the tonic going to the subdominant and going back to the tonic. This, of course, can happen. So functional harmony or diatonic harmony doesn't tell you what must happen, it just tells you where the chord gravitates to. You can always break the rules. And many times it will sound good, but the natural sort of thing that's really imprinted into our minds, especially those of us who've been listening to Western music for many, since they were children basically, is that the dominant goes to the tonic and the subdominant goes to the dominant. Now, using just these 3 degrees, or these 3 functions, you can harmonize pretty much any simple melody or any kind of simple song, and I'll just demonstrate this using 2 very simple melodies. Let's take O Susanna. So you know how it goes, of course it's very famous, and I'll play it in the key of C. And I could harmonize it in many different ways, but a natural harmonization is this. So you see that pretty much exclusively, every time I had a dominant, it resolved to the tonic. The subdominant sometimes went to the tonic, and actually in this particular song it didn't go to the dominant, but you get the drift. Let's pick another song. Let's take Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which was actually written by Mozart, and use these 3 important degrees to harmonize it. And again, what I'm going to play isn't the only way you can harmonize this song, but it's sort of just one possible solution that in my opinion sounds consonant. So again, in the key of C, I've only used C major, F major, and G major. Tonic, subdominant, and dominant. And you should be able to do this yourself. So pick 1, 2, or 3, or just a couple of nursery rhymes or simple melodies, and sit down and try to harmonize them using these 3 degrees. And consider this your homework for this lesson. Now, we're gonna almost stop at this point after having introduced you to the concept of functional harmony, and of course we're going to expound on this concept considerably throughout the course. I'll just say a few words about 7th chord. So in jazz you usually use seventh chords, not always, but usually, to harmonize your songs. Triads are not that common. And you can build many seventh chords on a particular degree. For example, if I take C, let's say C major, I can play a C major seventh chord or a C dominant seventh chord, or maybe a C6 chord. Similarly well, basically I have all these different variations available to me. And I'd like to offer a few possible seventh chord extensions for the chords that I'm playing, depending on their scale degree. So if you're playing the tonic, you would probably use either a sixth seventh chord or a major seventh chord. So in the key of C, you'd, instead of playing a C, you'd either play C6 or C major 7. For the subdominant, you have either the 6th or the major seventh chords. So in the key of C, the subdominant is an F, so you'd either play an F6 or an F major 7th. Finally, for the dominant degree, you'd almost exclusively play a dominant 7th chord. So instead of playing this, you'd probably play this, which is a G dominant 7th. You'd much more rarely play a 6th chord, even though the 6th is part of the C major scale. And now the point you have to keep in mind is that adding these 7th tensions either strengthens or weakens the chord's function. Now, what does this mean? It means that when I play a G major 7th in the key of C, so I'm playing a dominant 7th, it really wants to resolve to the tonic. So adding this dominant 7th strengthens the harmonic function of the dominant. However, if I were to play a G6, so I play a dominant 6th chord, you see that it doesn't really want to resolve to the tonic as strongly as the dominant 7th. So G7th to C versus G6 to C. Obviously, at least to my ears, the dominant variation wants to resolve to the tonic a lot more strongly. So always think in terms of whether the tension increases the harmonic function or decreases it. Let's look at another example. Let's look at the C. Let's look at the tonic, that is the C in the C major scale. And actually, it turns out that if I add a major 7th extension to this, I kind of slightly weaken the harmonic function of the tonic. And what does this mean? It means that a G dominant 7th resolving to a C major triad sounds a lot more, I'd say, satisfying than a G dominant 7 resolving to a C major 7. That's not to say that you can't use a G dominant 7th chord, resolving to a 1 major 7th chord, but the harmonic function of the tonic in this case is weaker. Now, just before we conclude, let's go back to one of the nursery rhymes we've used and just used the 7th chords to play it. Again, let's take O Susanna. And let me play it up here. And that was my cat giving the final encore. That's it for now. I hope you've learned something interesting. We're just starting out, so these are fairly basic concepts. But so the purpose of this lesson was to get you thinking in terms of functional harmony, and I hope it's done so. Of course, things will become more complex as we progress through the course. That's it. I'll see you next time.